Hello and welcome to Bite My Pie. In this video we're going to take a different look at the Twister UI. If you're not already familiar, this is a user interface for Linux. It enables you to take a standard desktop PC or laptop and change its appearance to match that of Twister OS on the Raspberry Pi. In the previous video covering this topic, we installed it on top of Ubuntu, which is great for long-term support and stability. This time around we'll be installing it on a different version of Linux called Manjaro, which places greater emphasis on keeping software updated to the latest available release. As an added bonus, Twister UI now comes with a new Windows 11 inspired theme, which we'll also be taking for a spin. So if this sounds of interest to you, stick around. To get started, we first need to download Manjaro. So let's open a web browser and search for it. It's this website that we want, manjaro.org. And we need to click on Try Manjaro. Feel free to watch the YouTube video, or if you just want to get stuck in, click on Get XFCE. From the download page, we're going to download the full version from the top, and then we're going to get the download. So save that to your computer. Depending on the speed of your internet connection, this may take a little while, so I'll pause the video and come back when it's complete. Right, with the distro downloaded, next we need to grab a program to copy it to a USB stick. We're going to search for Etcher, and it's this one we want at balena.io. Choose the version that's suitable for your computer. I'm going to get the portable version for Windows and save that to my computer as well. And with that done, we can close the web browser. Make sure that your USB stick is connected to your computer. You'll need one at least 4 GB in size. Then head to File Explorer to the Downloads directory, and we're going to launch Etcher. Select Flash from File and then browse to the Downloads directory. We need to select the Manjaro disk image file that we downloaded and then click on Open. Next, choose Select Target and make sure that your USB stick is selected. When you've done that, click on Select and then we can click on Flash. And yes, we do want to run it. It'll take a little while to copy the Linux distribution to the USB stick, so I'll pause the video and come back when it's finished. Okay, now that that's finished, we can close Etcher and close File Explorer as well. Make sure that your USB stick is connected to the computer you want to install Twister UI onto, and then power it on. If it's the same PC you just used to create the Linux USB stick, simply restart it. Tap the relevant key to enter your computer's boot menu. On this PC it's F7. We need to boot the computer from our USB stick, so I'll use the cursor keys to navigate to my Kingston USB stick and press enter to select it. On this screen you can either wait for the countdown to complete or press enter on your keyboard to hurry things along. And here we are at the Manjaro desktop. Note that I've got a network cable connected to my computer. But if you'd sooner use Wi-Fi, you can click on this little icon at the bottom of the screen and connect to your wireless network. At the moment, Manjaro is running from our USB stick, and to proceed we need to install it to the computer's hard drive. So to do this, click on Launch Installer, and from the drop-down list select your preferred language. I'm going to go with British English, and then click on Next. If the region or zone aren't correct, you can change them from their respective drop-down lists. Otherwise, click on Next to proceed. If the correct keyboard isn't highlighted, you can change that here, or again click on Next to continue. On this screen we need to choose our disk options. If your computer has more than one drive, which mine does, you'll find them listed here. So choose the one that you want to install Manjaro onto. I'm going to go with the 120 GB solid state disk. If your computer already has an operating system on the drive, you do have the option to install Manjaro alongside it. Personally, I'd recommend dedicating the entire disk to this operating system. So in this case we can leave Erase Disk selected. Although it uses a little bit of disk space, I'd suggest enabling swap. Basically, swap helps if your computer doesn't have enough memory. It allows the operating system to make use of the system disk to compensate. If you want your computer to be able to hibernate to save power when not in use, I'd go with that option. If you want to encrypt the operating system, you need to check this box here. This is probably more use on a laptop than a desktop PC, so I'm not going to do that. And when you've made your selections, click on Next. Okay, this is where we enter our details. I'm going to put byte my pi into the name box. You can press the Tab key on the keyboard to move down to the next entry. Here we need to enter the name for our account's login. So I'm just going to add an I to the end of that, and then I'll press Tab again. Next we need to give our computer a name. I'll go with byte my pi PC. Then pop in a password and type it again into the next box to confirm it. I wouldn't recommend ticking this box to log in automatically without asking for a password, but that's up to you. And then you can either type in a different password for the administrator account and confirm it here, or what I'm going to do is tick this box to use the same password I just typed for the administrator account as well. And when that's done, we can click on Next. This screen gives us an overview of the choices that we made for the installation. So when you're happy to continue, click on Install and confirm that you definitely want to do that. Once the installation is complete, let's check the Restart box and click on Done. As the computer restarts, make sure that you remove the USB stick. Manjaro should now automatically begin booting. We need to enter our password to log in. If you're using Wi-Fi, you may need to connect to your wireless network again. And before we proceed with Twister UI, it's a good idea to first make sure that Manjaro is up to date. Let's click on the Applications menu and launch the terminal. Manjaro is based on the Arch Linux distribution and is what's known as a rolling release. This is how it keeps up to date, as it doesn't need to wait for a new version of the operating system to deliver the latest software. Instead, it continually updates, so theoretically you should only need to install it once, and you'll always get the latest available software. To update the system, we're simply going to type a single command, which is sudo pacman space dash capital S lowercase yu, and then press enter to run it. Because we need to run this as admin by using the sudo command, we also need to enter our password. And I'm going to type Y and press enter to proceed. With the system up to date, we can close the terminal. Manjaro is a great operating system in its own right, and obviously you could use it as such, but we want to change the user interface to that of Twister UI. So let's open a web browser, and we're going to search for Twister UI. Let's agree to Google's terms, and it's this website we want, twisteros.com. And if we scroll down the page a little bit, it's the current release for Manjaro that we want to download, and then save that to our computer. As you can see, that's going to take a little while, so I'll pause the video and come back when it's complete. With the download complete, let's close the web browser and open the file manager. If you browse to the downloads directory, you should see the downloaded file. We need to right click on it and choose Properties. Then on the Permissions tab, click the little box that says Allow this file to run as a program, and then click on Close. The Twister UI installer is now executable and ready to run, so right click inside the Downloads folder and select Terminal. If you enter the command ls, you should see the Twister UI installer. To run that, we just need to type /twister with a capital T, and then if you press the tab key on your keyboard, it should complete the rest of the file name, which should match the one above. And to run it, just hit enter. It tells us that this will install Twister UI Manjaro, and we need to press enter to continue. It also tells us that we need to be connected to the internet before proceeding, Since we know that's the case, we can press enter again, and then we need to enter our password. To install the necessary dependencies, press enter again, and to proceed with the installation, type Y and press enter once more. Some of the required apps come from the AUR or the Arch user repository, which we'll talk about later, so press enter on your keyboard to get these. You can see that it's going to install these packages and build Microsoft's TrueType fonts. So type Y and press enter to apply the transaction. SCRCPY or Screen Copy is an open source application that allows you to take control of an Android device from the computer's desktop. Twister UI requires this for the My Android app to function. So let's type Y and press enter to install that. If at any point during the installation process it asks for your password again, just type that in and press enter. Here it needs some more dependencies to be able to install the Lightpad application launcher. So let's enter Y to do that. Next it wants to install the components for Q Joypad. As the name suggests, this is to enable us to use a gamepad or joystick, which could be very handy if you plan on a spot of gaming with Lutris. So let's enter Y to install that. Let's press enter to install Google Chrome, and we'll go with the default option, which is number 1. It appears that some build files already exist, so we can choose if we want to show the differences between those and the new ones. I'm going to enter N for none, as I don't particularly want to see that. It's prompting for my password again, so I'll pop that in. And the installation is almost complete. We just need to press enter to restart the computer. When you get to the login prompt, pop in your password and then log in. Let's turn off this Manjaro welcome screen and close the window. Make sure that you've still got a network connection by clicking on the little icon on the top bar. And then we're going to make sure that everything's up to date. So if you like the command line, you can open the terminal and type in the command that we used earlier. But if you prefer to point and click, we can use add remove software instead. In which case, head for the updates tab and then we can click on apply. Pop in your password and click on authenticate. When it's finished updating, if required, click on restart. You can see we've got a message telling us that the Twister OS Manjaro UI can be updated. Although we've just updated the underlying Manjaro operating system, Twister UI updates are handled separately. If this message hadn't popped up, you can check for them on the main menu in the System section, and here we have the Twister UI Manjaro patcher. Now I'm not sure why, but at the time of this recording there seems to be an issue with this. We can see that it says the current version that we've got installed is 2.1.2, and if you were to look on the Twister OS website you can see that this is also the latest version. But for some reason the updater is claiming that the latest version is 2.1.3. And if we click on See Update and then click on Install 2.1.3, we get an error, presumably because the update doesn't exist yet, and we're already running the latest version. So hopefully this issue will resolve itself when version 2.1.3 is released. Okay, on to the fun part. Presumably the main reason most of us are installing Twister UI is to make the user experience similar to that of Twister OS on our Raspberry Pis. So to that end, let's open ThemeTwister and then click on Next. Since I did my last Twister video, and to coincide nicely with Microsoft's newly released Windows 11, we now have a Twister 11 theme. So this time round I'm going to select the light version of that. Select the theme you'd like to use and then pop in your password when it asks for it and press enter. Then when the theme is ready, press enter to restart the session and log back in from the login screen. And here we have the light version of the new Twister 11 theme. We have a few shortcuts, including some ready to go apps on the desktop, and then the start menu down in the taskbar. The installed apps are conveniently sorted into categories, or we can search for a particular app. From the bottom of the Start menu we can open Settings. We can also lock the screen, switch user account if you've set up more than one, shut down and log out. There are also several more shortcuts along the taskbar, not least of which is Add Remove Software. If you look in the Categories section, you should easily be able to locate any programs that you're after. Or if you know the name of one, you can search for it at the top. Let's say I wanted to install OBS Studio. So I'll type in OBS and click on the name. Then I can click on the download arrow and select Apply. There are a couple of optional dependencies, so if I want either or both of those, I could select them and choose. Or if I don't want any of them, I can just click on Choose. And then pop in my password and click on Authenticate. We get a summary of the software about to be installed, then we just need to click on Apply. And as easy as that, we've just installed OBS Studio. And you can open it from the Multimedia section of the menu. But for now, let's just close out of there. If you decided you didn't want a piece of software after all, head back into Add Remove Programs, find the program in question and select it, and then click on the trash can icon. To remove the software, click on Apply. Double check that the right program is about to be removed and then click on Apply again. And as it's an admin task, you'll most likely need to pop in your password. And that's it, OBS Studio is no more. As with other versions of Twister, once again our office requirements are taken care of by the splendid LibreOffice. On the bottom right of the taskbar you've got quick access to things like your network connections and volume, and that's the basic layout of the Twister UI using the Twister 11 theme. Note, if you're using Google Chrome, you may find at some point that it asks for a password. This is a security feature to help keep your passwords safe if you use Chrome to store them. The Keyring feature is actually part of the operating system rather than the web browser, and is also used to store other sensitive information securely, as we'll see later in the video. While you can simply click on Continue to not set a password, I'd recommend entering the same password you used to log into the computer with, and then click Continue. The next time you use Chrome you may find that it asks for authentication, in which case pop in your password again, make sure that this box automatically unlock this keyring whenever I'm logged in is ticked, and then click on Unlock, and that should be the last time it asks you to do that. Let's say you'd sooner use Firefox than Google Chrome. If that's the case, you may want to right click on Chrome on the taskbar and unpin it, and then if we head to the Start menu to the Internet section and open Firefox, we can right click on it on the taskbar and pin it there. Then if we close the web browser, we now have an easy to use shortcut to launch Firefox. As we've already seen, this version of Twister UI is built on top of Manjaro, which as I mentioned earlier is itself based on Arch Linux. It would therefore be almost a disservice not to discuss the AUR, as this is arguably one of the biggest benefits of using an Arch Linux based distribution. The AUR or Arch User Repository is a collection of package builds maintained by the community. What this means is that should a package you're after not be available from the main Arch repository, it's quite likely that you'll find it in the AUR. So let's open the web browser and see what this looks like. We're going to search for AUR, and it's this one at aur.archlinux.org. For a quick comparison, let's open the Arch website in a new tab, and this one's at archlinux.org. Let's say I want the Sublime text editor. If I do a search for it here, you can see that there are no matching packages found. However, if we click over onto the AUR tab and carry out the same search there, you can see this time that we have several options. At the time of this recording, Sublime Text 4 is the latest version, so I'm going to click on that one. And if we scroll down the page, we can see the latest comments about the package. Since packages in the AUR are maintained by the community, it can be useful to look in the comments section, particularly if you run into any issues. To get started with the installation, we're going to download the snapshot of the package and save that to our computer. Now if we close the web browser and open the file manager, then head to download and right click on the downloaded package to extract it, we can have a look at the installation script before we install it. There are two files we're interested in, pkg build and the file ending in .install. Let's first right click on the package build file and open it with mousepad or any other text editor. You're just looking to see that any download links seem genuine and that there's no malicious looking commands that might start deleting your files, for example. Don't worry though, just err on the side of caution and you'll be fine. The very fact that you can actually check the code makes this much safer than downloading some random exe file from the internet on Windows. In fact, quite a few new packages that enter the main Arch repositories start out in the AUR. Okay, let's quickly check the .install file as well. Right, on with the installation. Now to install the package, let's right click in the Sublime Text folder and open the terminal. Let's first make sure that we take care of any dependencies that the package may need to aid in the installation. And we can do that by using Arch's Pacman Package Manager to install them by typing the following command. And when you've done that, press enter. Since we're running this as admin, we need to pop in our password. And I'm going to press enter again to accept the default selection of all. And yes, we do want to proceed with the installation. With that done, let's clear the screen. Next, we need to make the package to install. If this is getting a bit confusing or looking like a lot of work, don't fret, I'll show you an easier way in a moment. But for the masochists amongst us, let's continue by typing make pkg space -s and press enter. That should have created several more files inside the Sublime folder. We can see these in our terminal by typing ls. You'll notice that one of them is a .zst file, and this is what we're going to use to install the package. And the command to do that is sudo pacman -U and then the full name of the ZST file. We don't have to type it all, instead we can use something called tab completion. In other words, if we start typing the file name and then press the tab key on our keyboard, it should automatically complete the rest of the file name, and then we can press enter. If it asks for it, pop in your password, and yes, let's proceed with the installation. And that should be it. If you look in the development section of the start menu, you should find Sublime Text. Okay, let's close a few of these windows. The easier way to install packages from the AUR is to use an AUR package manager, and for this we'll be using Yay. So let's install it by typing sudo pacman -S yay and pop in your password. And yes, we do want to do that. Just as Pacman can install packages from the main Arch repositories, Yay can install them from the AUR. First though, I'm going to use Yay to search for a package that I know the name of, and we can do this by typing Yay -S lowercase s and the name of the software, which in this case is lossless cut, and you can see that it's found the package. And now we can install that by typing Yay -S and the package name, which is lossless cut -bin. Note that the Yay command works in a similar fashion to Arch's Pacman. Obviously, if you were using Pacman, you'd install a package using the format shown on screen. Notice the biggest difference, other than the name of the package manager, is the absence of the sudo command when using Yay. You may recall that sudo runs the command as administrator. Not running Yay with sudo is a security measure, again due to the more open nature of the AUR. This doesn't mean that a package won't prompt you for your password to gain admin rights during installation. It's just that bit safer to start without them. Again, just to be on the safe side, I'd recommend checking the package out by downloading the snapshot from the AUR website prior to installing. To save time for this package, I've done this off camera. Okay, let's install the software. Here I'm going to enter N for none. So you can see that this package now wants my password in order to perform the cleanup. So I'll pop that in. And easy as that, we've just installed Lossless Cut, which if you're not familiar is a handy little video editor. And we can find it on the Start menu under Multimedia, and there it is. If you later want to remove a package using Yay, you can simply enter Yay-R and then the name of the package into the terminal. Notice the similarity to doing the same thing in Pacman, and again note the absence of sudo. To update your AUR packages, you can use the Yay-SYU command shown on screen. Once more, note the similarity to doing the same thing for your Arch packages with Pacman. Before we leave the subject of the AUR, a quick word on package maintenance. Packages can become abandoned if a developer stops maintaining them and no one else picks up the mantle. For this reason, it's always worth checking when a package was last updated to see if it's being actively maintained. With that said, go have fun exploring everything the AUR has to offer. For the retro gamers out there, RetroPie comes pre-installed with Twister OS on the Raspberry Pi. Unfortunately, this isn't the case with Twister UI. RetroPie is built on top of Raspberry Pi OS, which itself is based on Debian, which is probably why even the AUR, as great a resource as it is, doesn't offer this package. That said, it does have Emulation Station, which is used as the front end for RetroPie. Personally, I'd suggest that if you want to play with RetroPie on your computer, install the version of Twister UI that's based on Ubuntu. I've put a link in the description to a previous video I did on this. Trust me, it will save you a lot of headaches in the long run. Since we're setting up a new operating system on our computer, you may well want to access a network share, say on a local file server or NAS for example. To do this, we first need to open the file manager and then click on the little pencil icon in the top bar. Now type SMB, which stands for Samba and is the type of file share we're trying to access, :/, and then the IP address of your server or NAS. To demonstrate this process, I've quickly set up a temporary file server on a Raspberry Pi using the .Pi distro. Following the IP address, type in another / and then enter the name of your network share, which in my case is .Pi. And when you've done that, press enter on your keyboard. If your share requires a username and password, you'll need to fill them in here. To do so, click on Registered User, then enter the username and pop in your password. If you don't want to have to enter this each time, click on Remember Forever and then click on Connect. If you've been watching since the beginning of the video, you'll remember that we set up a security keyring when using Google Chrome. I set my keyring password to the same as my user account. Assuming you did likewise and you also get this prompt, simply enter your password and then click on Unlock. And now we have access to our file share. To save typing the address in each time, it's a good idea to create a shortcut. So right click on the shares entry under Network and select Create Shortcut. And now if we close File Manager and then reopen it, you can see we've got this entry in the Places section. If you want to make its name a bit more user friendly, right click on it and choose Rename Shortcut. Then type in a simpler name and press enter when you're done. And if we click on that, we can go straight into our share. If at any point you see this red shield with the letter I on your taskbar, it just means that there's an update available. And if you click on it, it will allow you to see what it is. And from there you can apply it. You'll most likely need to enter your password in order to do so, and then click on Authenticate. And that's it, the system is now up to date. Another thing you might want to do on your new Twister UI installation is add a printer. If you want to print wirelessly, since each model is different, you'll need to find out how to connect your particular printer to your wireless network. Usually, if your printer has a built-in screen, you can go into the network settings and join it from there. Otherwise, it's often a case of finding out if the manufacturer has a configuration tool that you can use to do this. I've connected a USB cable to my printer to attach it to the computer. The next step, whether connecting wirelessly or by a cable, is to open a web browser and type in localhost, which is just another way of saying this computer, /631, which is the port number that CUPS runs on. If you're not already familiar with it, CUPS is an open source system designed for managing your printers. To get started, we're going to click on the Administration tab, and from there select Add Printer. You'll need to enter the username root and the password that you use to sign into your computer, and then click on Sign In. If you're using a USB cable, you need to select your printer from the list of local printers, which for me is this Epson one here. Alternatively, if your printer is wireless and connected to your wireless network, you should be able to select it from the Discovered Network Printers section as shown on screen. And then if we scroll down a little bit, we're going to click on Continue. If you're happy with the automatically generated names, you can leave them. I tend to leave the description and then change the name to something simpler. Optionally, you can enter a location and then decide whether or not you want to share the printer. I'm not going to do that, so I'll just click on Continue. Next, with your printer manufacturer selected, scroll through the list and try and find your printer. It doesn't have my exact model, but it does have the XP8500, which is the previous version. I found that works pretty well, so I'm going to select that. If a driver for your model of printer isn't listed and an older version doesn't work, you may be in the hands of the manufacturer, in which case you need to try and obtain a PPD file so that you can upload it here by clicking on Browse. Once we've selected our printer, we need to click on Add Printer, and here we have some settings. Being in the UK, I'm going to set media size to A4, and for my printer I'm going to leave all of these other settings on the default. And when you're happy with your selections, click on Set Default Options. And that's it, we've added our printer. To make sure it's working properly, head to the Maintenance drop-down list and choose Print Test Page. And through the magic of video editing, you can see on screen the printed test page. So whether wireless or cabled, all being well, you should now be good to go. Okay, with the printer set up, let's close out of there. Hopefully you're now ready to start enjoying the many benefits of your new computer setup, and can take advantage of all the latest software that running such a system makes available to you. And that brings us to the end of this video. In some ways it feels like the end of a trilogy. First we had Twister OS on the Raspberry Pi, then we installed Twister UI on Ubuntu, and now we've added it to Manjaro. Whether you want the Twister experience on a single board computer or a more traditional fully fledged machine, you now have the flexibility to do so. Moreover, with a desktop PC or laptop, you have the option to choose between the perhaps more stable fixed release model that Ubuntu offers, or the rolling release format with its newer software releases that Manjaro brings. So whatever your computing requirements, odds are Twister OS and its UI has you covered. As always, if you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe, and if you'd like to be notified when I post the next one, just click the bell icon. Thanks for watching, and until next time, take care.